When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home, I wish I was back there with the things that I know in. Wind that makes the tall trees bend into leaning. Suddenly the snowflakes that fall have the meaning. Sprinkle the scene, makes it all clean. Maybe there's a chance for me to go back now that I've found some direction. It sure would be nice to be back at home where there's love and affection. Suddenly the world's gone and changed its face, but I still know where I'm going. I have had my mind spun around in space, and yet I watched it growing. If you're listening, God, please don't make it hard to know if we should believe the things that we see. Tell me, should we run away? Should we try and stay? Or would it be better just to let things be? Living here in a brand new world might be a fantasy, but it taught me to love, and so it's real to me. And I know that we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love, like yours, like mine, like home, like home, like home.
Thank you so much, Janet. Thank you so much. Yeah, like home. You know, when we find that place of home, we have such a deep sense of belonging and that sense of connection. And as we have heard in our reading and in our talks over these last couple of weeks, how important that is to have that place where we feel at home. And so many of us have found that here, and we want to continue to grow this place and grow it and grow it and grow it so that everybody who's looking for a place like this can find us and can have that experience of connection. And it's so interesting to think about how much we've talked about that conversation in the context of our physical health and well-being. Isn't that interesting? How important that is. So today we're going to talk about another piece of taking care of ourselves, another piece of building a healthy life. And we're going to talk about embracing radical self-care. Now, for those of you who know me well, you think it's rather humorous that I'm giving this talk, don't you? Because I would confess to you that those of you who don't know me so well, yeah, this would not be a topic that I have mastery in. It's not. It's just the truth. Oftentimes, you know, when we stand up here as ministers and we speak, there's many times when I speak from a deep and profound mastery or a deep and profound sense of I've walked the path and I can show you something about it and I know something about it, and it's a joy to speak from that place. Sometimes I talk about things that I actually have to listen to myself. And so we're on this exploration together, because this is an exploration that has been on and off, a deep commitment Okay, well, that's really not true, because if it was a commitment, I'd be doing it, wouldn't it? A deep conversation I've had with myself on more than one occasion. So we're gonna travel this path together just a little bit. So okay. So in the book that we're reading, Mind Over Medicine, with Lisa Rankin, she talks about good health. There's some general, what do we want to say? A general analysis that good health is a three-legged stool. And the three legs are pharmaceuticals, surgery and medical procedures, and individual self-care. And if you go to a doctor, whether it's a Western or an alternative medicine doctor, in the last 10 or 15 years, they've actually begun to talk about individual self-care, in addition to the services and programs that are the services and the procedures that are needed. Things like eating, diet, exercise, how much water you drink, all of these, how much coffee and alcohol, and things like that. And so this conversation about individual self-care is really becoming a part of accepted medicine. And our Dr. Rankin in our book really talks about that. And what she says then is, quite frankly, in her experience and what she's been studying recently and what she's proposing in this book, is that actually good health is a single-legged stool. And that single leg is radical self-care. And that the other pieces of it, whether it's supplements, pharmaceuticals, procedures, doctors, those kinds of things, are actually appendages that are needed occasionally, but less and less and less so when our stool has this leg, radical self-care. So not just individual self-care, not just eating well and sleeping and exercising, but radical self-care. What she means by radical self-care involves things like setting boundaries, living in alignment with your truth, surrounding yourself with love and a sense of connection, and spending time doing what you love. You need radical self-care not just in your health habits, but in the rest of your life. You see, it's not enough just to eat well, exercise, do all of those kinds of things. We can take massive amounts of supplements, but if our overall lifestyle is not supportive of our health and well-being, it's not going to be enough. We actually need to go further and further and further back and find that place of radical self-care. Now, I love this word, radical self-care. What does it mean to be radical? Man, you're like so far out of the lines. You're out of the box. You're doing something that's really, really, really different from anything that you've done before. You're out of the box of what people accept or expect, or what they might think is appropriate. Radical self-care. Now, I had my first experience of radical self-care when I moved to my cabin in the woods. I became a minister. I started my own community south of Seattle. I had a great deal of support from the Seattle community and the minister there. I knew 4 people, and I had $2,500 in my pocket. We started a community. And we worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and 7 years later, we were a community of about 125 people. And we had rented a little space, and we'd remodeled it, and we were going gangbusters. Problem was, I wasn't going gangbusters. Not anymore. Not after 7 years of basically doing everything myself. Why? Because that's how I was taught to do ministry. I was taught to be in service to my community. I was a servant leader, and that if it needed to be done, I needed to be doing it. And then, of course, I have a great deal of German training in my background. You know what that training is, right? If you want it done right, you do it yourself. And if you want it done well, you overdo it. You don't just clean the bathroom, you clean it with a toothbrush, right? Because then you know it's really clean. So I was raised with that. And then I was modeled a ministry where whatever needed to be done, the minister did. Just took care of it. Oh, I'll take care of it. No problem. I'll take care of it. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Well, you can do that when there's 40 people coming. You can't do that when there's 100 people coming. And you surely can't do it when there's 125 people coming. And so what happened for me over those 7 years is that I burnt out spectacularly. Actually, I burnt out so badly that I destroyed my marriage and just about destroyed the community, just about destroyed my health, and finally realized that I wasn't going to make it if I didn't make a change. So my radical self-care move, I released everything, I quit the church, got out of my marriage, and I moved to a cabin in the woods, 30 miles from the smallest town of 600 people. I didn't really know how long I was going to be out there. I didn't know what I was going to do out there, but I knew that I desperately needed to do something different. And what I discovered when I got out there is I realized that I no longer knew what I wanted. I actually couldn't tell what it was I wanted. I couldn't tell what made me happy. I had no idea what was important to me. Because, you see, I had committed to being a minister and serving the community. So what was running me? My responsibilities, my duties, my obligations, my desire to be committed, my willingness to do whatever it takes. And that was what was pushing me forward, go over and over and over again. Yeah, well, and let's admit, for those of us who have that, then there's also that layer of people-pleasing, making sure everybody is nice and happy and doing everything to make sure that you like me. It's exhausting, isn't it? So I went out to my cabin and I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue. I had completely forgotten why I was called in the ministry in the first place. That was such a radical move for me. I left everything, my community, everything, my friends, and I went and I sat in a chair in front of the picture window in my cabin looking out at the meadow where the elk came in the morning and in the evenings. And I sat there and I tried to feel and hear and sense what I wanted. It took 3 months. It took 3 months to get out from underneath all of that, to discover not only what I wanted, but that it was important for me to know that. I found this quote, "It's not selfish to love yourself, take care of yourself, and to make your happiness a priority. It's necessary." And do you know that I still have trouble saying those words? It's not selfish to love yourself. I was raised with a very different message. I'm imagining many of us were raised with a very different message. And to really embrace and to recognize that I was no longer able to give my gift. I was no longer able to contribute, which is my driving value, because I wasn't doing this. You see, it's that paradox that it actually has to be happening here for it to be happening out there in the world. When you're happy, relaxed, and free of stress, Lisa says in our book, the body can accomplish amazing, even miraculous feats of self-repair. Reverend Karen talked about this a lot last week, and she describes it amazingly in this book, how much the stress response is damaging our bodies, even beyond the not eating well and the other things that we do or don't do that we should do, how much damage is being done, and how little ability our body has to restore itself unless we're relaxed, happy, and free from stress. because we've been preparing for this book and looking at it and working up to it, we had Matt Jones here the other day, I guess at the beginning of the month. He started our month out. And he said this at the first service. I was disappointed that it didn't make it into his talk at the second service. But at the first service, he talked about an affirmation that he found and that he was using. And that affirmation is, I'm too blessed to be stressed. And I thought, I need to tattoo that on my eyelids. Really? I am too blessed to be stressed. Oh my goodness, look, I have you guys. I have this amazing community. I have a beautiful place to live. I go on vacation. I do amazing things. I love my life. Why in the world am I allowing myself to be so stressed out over stuff? So I started doing that affirmation. I am too blessed to be stressed, damn it. I don't know about you, but sometimes my affirmations start out that way, through gritted teeth. And I've been doing that since he was here, 3 weeks ago, right? 3-4 weeks ago, whenever that was. And that was what it felt like. The first couple weeks, it felt like an affirmation. I am affirming this. And then all of a sudden, one day I said it, and I was like, oh my God, I am too blessed to be stressed. And it became a real statement for me. I am too, and so now, anytime that I feel myself feeling that way, I just think, wait, I am way too blessed to be this stressed. Oh no, we're not going there at all. And that's true for us. We are blessed simply by being the presence of life itself, wanting to come and share its gift and its love as you. There are things in our lives that are working. There are relationships that are working. We're connected. We have love. We have things that are truly feeding us, that we are blessed about. Let's really recognize that. Let that be the ground upon which we stand. And then we have that place of trust. We can relax. We can know that it's all going to work out. Somehow we're going to move through it, whatever it is. I am too blessed to be stressed. Now we're going to talk about vacations. We just came back from a vacation, and this was sent to me not too long ago. Do you know 59% of Americans don't take the vacation that they are allowed? 59%. You do not have to raise your hand if you're one of those people. 64% of men and 57% of women work on their vacation. Check email, call into the boss, find out what's going on, do a little thing on the side because now I have time for that project. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be on vacation. That's why I have time. Oh right, I'm supposed to not be working. Now, when I first started doing my month vacation, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, no, actually longer than that now, probably 10 years ago, it was a huge stretch for me. I'm going to be gone for a month because that's how long it takes for me to recover and to really feel that resurgence and that renewal. And do you know that I had to learn how to not check my email, how to not answer the phone? It was a discipline as profound for me as the discipline of meditation, or the discipline of prayer, or the discipline of eating appropriately, or any of the other disciplines that we have to make our lives healthy. To actually have the discipline to shut it down. Shut it down when you're at home in an evening. Shut it down over the weekend when you actually are taking a day off. To not check those things. And we have become such a culture. I was reading in this article that the reason for this is people are afraid of losing their jobs. Do you know that I've never heard one person in this community say, I am so stressed out by my email and overwhelmed and overworked at work because I'm afraid of losing my job? I think we do it because we're habituated to it. And it goes faster and faster and faster. Well, she's doing it. Well, he's doing it. Well, I guess I'm supposed to do it. And then the boss is doing it. So if the boss is doing it, then you're expected to do it. And it's just this habit that has mushroomed. And we actually get a paltry amount of vacation here in the United States. You do know that, right? In Europe, they get way more vacation than we do. And they take it. Why? Because they know they are not indispensable. They know that when they're on vacation, somebody else is going to do the work. Or they're going to put a sign on their store. Gone on vacation, July 1st to August 10th. See you then. That's what they do. And they trust that is perfectly rejuvenating for them and has no negative effect on their life and on their business. Isn't that amazing? To trust so completely. Do you see, when we don't take a break, when we don't take vacation, when we don't go away, when we don't shut down and shut off, what we're telling the people around us is, I don't actually trust that you're going to do it, that you're going to take care of it, so I'm going to keep checking in. Make sure you're doing it right. Make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks. Make sure something is actually happening. And so what that means is, I don't really trust you because I know. And I know that if I have to do it, if I want it done right, I have to do it by myself. Do you see how that becomes a perpetuating thought process? It's a profound discipline. We might actually, we teach 5 spiritual disciplines. I think I'm going to suggest that we teach a 6th spiritual discipline, the discipline of disconnecting. The discipline of disconnecting from work, not from each other, but the discipline of disconnecting from work, right? And actually taking the time. So I have in my letter of call, and I actually had it in my first community, never did it. I've had it in this letter of call for 15 years, a sabbatical. So I've had in my letter of call for well over 25 years that I get a sabbatical. And I took it, as you know, 3 years ago. For the first time, I took time to rest in my own life again, just like I had in my cabin. And do you know that it was just as scary? That was a radical move. I'm not going to be gone for a month. I'm going to be gone for 3 months. And it was a powerful place to say, really, you can do it. I trust the leadership here. I know people are going to step forward. I know whatever falls apart will be taken care of by somebody, or it'll just lay there till I get back. That's okay too. It's all right. And because I know that I'm not indispensable and that you're capable. But that was a profound move for all of us. And for me, that was a radical opportunity. And of course, I had that same sense of, like, what am I going to do with myself every day? Where am I going to go? How am I going to pack? There's a lot of unknown and uncertainty around it. And I think that's a part of what makes this kind of self-care radical, because it takes us out of our normal routines and breaks us out of those kinds of just habits. So Lisa Rankin talks about this overall sense of our health and well-being being like one of these beautifully stacked cairns. And when they are in balance with each other, you have this beautiful thing. And I know you've seen them hiking, and I know you've seen them when you've been by the ocean, and people have built these amazing sculptures. And they are predicated upon the fact that everyone is balanced and resting on the one below. And if something happens to the stone below it, the whole thing falls over, right? So she has her own physical health and well-being cairn that we create in our own lives. If you're reading the book, you know that this image is in there. And you'll notice as you look at this image that at the bottom is your inner pilot light, your inner wisdom that actually knows exactly and precisely what's healthy and not healthy for you. And then all the other pieces have to do with work and relationship and money and spirituality. And it's not until the very top one that you actually get to physical health, eating, exercise, and all of those kinds of things. So it's not just the things we do, the choices and the lifestyle choices we make for our bodies, but it's all of those other areas that she invites us to take a deep look at. A deep look at. Is it healthy? Is it supporting us? Or is there unnecessary stress in any one of these areas? Is there something about it that's unhealthy? This is a profound opportunity for self-awareness, self-recognition, self-exploration. No shame, no blame. No, we all have areas that don't work as well as they might, where we've allowed ourselves to stay in unhealthy situations or places because, for whatever reason, we don't know how to get out of it, we're pleasing someone, it's a habit, whatever the reasons are, we all have them. This is not about, oh, you bad person, you're still doing that, but an opportunity for deep self-reflection. Where are we settling and allowing ourselves to continue to be stuck in unhealthy situations or situations that don't vibrate with aliveness that's part of the stack of our lives? And it's interesting to think about this. I saw this quote by Maya Angelou. We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. Yeah. I've had to change and grow so much. I've had to change and grow out of my childhood training, out of the training I received from my mentor that was dysfunctional, out of the beliefs and habits that I created over time. I've had to change those things in myself to even begin to have this conversation with you about radical self-care. For us to fly and soar like that butterfly, that beautiful butterfly, we actually have to do things differently. It's not going to happen by magic. We set our intentions, and then we make the changes. On that cairn, if you saw, she said there are 4 primary ingredients to a lifestyle that produces health, that supports the building of this balanced structure in our lives. The first one is gratitude. To have gratitude for the things that are going. I am too blessed to be stressed. We actually have to see the blessings, be grateful for them, to experience and share love, connection, whether it's in a community, whether it's with a partner, a lover, a friend, a family member, to have that sense of love, to share it and to let it in, to be of service, to be about more than just our own lives, not martyred service, not service so much so that we don't take care of ourselves, but that service that takes us outside of ourselves. And finally, I love that she has one of the primary ingredients to a lifestyle that produces health: pleasure. Pleasure. From a great cup of coffee to a beautiful meal to a beautiful piece of artwork to some lovely lovemaking to the beauty of nature to the way something feels on our skin, to savor and enjoy life. Man. You know what? When I'm running on that rat race and I feel that stressed, I am not experiencing pleasure in my life. And that disconnects us from the joy that we're here to express and experience. It's a radical move to decide that these things are important. That last one, pleasure, oh my God, you do not have to raise your hand. How many of us were raised with, well, you can go out and play once your chores are done? Okay, my chores are never done. There's always one more project, one more email, one more thing, one more call, one more person I could minister to. Do you see? And how many of us have that? Well, I'll have pleasure and I'll enjoy my life when all these other things are taken care of. Oh, wait, I'll start over again. Oh, wait, I have to start over again. Oh, wait, I have to start over again. Oh, my gosh. Hello. This is why we take vacations. This is why we have days off. This is why, okay? Right. I will be watching this video myself this week. Again. Because I need this message as much as you do. The primary ingredients to a lifestyle that produces health. So I'm going to make a radical move for me. I'm going to do a radical move of self-care for myself. And that is, I'm going to ask for your help. And the way I'm going to ask for your help is I'm going to ask you to consider being of service here at CSLDallas. Because the truth is, I can't do it alone. Reverend Karen and I can't do it alone. The ministers, we can't do it alone. Even the team leads, we can't do it alone. We need each and every one of us to be contributing. And I know that you being of service is truly a part of this. Balanced, healthy service. So you received a form when you came in. A form that is an opportunity for you to think about being of service here. We also have the greeters coming forward if somebody needs a pen. And so if you need a pen, love for you to raise your hand and get one. Now here's the deal. If you are already in service in this community, especially if you're doing more than two things, radical self-care is don't fill it out. I mean it. Because those spaces are for people who aren't yet having the experience of being of service, which is part of others' self-care. And you see, part of the way we care for ourselves is to allow ourselves to be part of something bigger. And so I really want you to look at that form and pick one thing. If you're not in service here yet, pick one thing, not five. Not five, that would be overkill. One thing that you say, yeah, I could be of service in this way. I've got some time, or I've got some skill, or I've got something that I could be in service this way. There's some things you can check off on one side. On the back side, there's even a place where you can write something in if you don't see it. I have some skill or something. Because for all of us to be healthy, we need all of us to be contributing. And then nobody carries the burden of feeling like they have to do the bulk of it on the one hand, and we discover the truth is none of us are indispensable. We actually can all hold each other up. So I'm going to ask you to pick something, drop it off in the offering basket. We'll get back to you in the next couple of weeks and invite you into this place of service as part of our sense of self-care. Reverend Karen's going to be finishing up. She's going to be wrapping this up on Wednesday night. And if you haven't been to Wednesday night yet, I highly encourage it. Man, they've been going deep. She's been asking some of the questions that Dr. Rankin asks in the book and really diving into it. So whether you've been there or not before, I really invite you to do that and continue working with the book. If you haven't gotten it yet, please do. It really is going to completely reposition health inside the context of a healthy life. And isn't that what we think we're here for? We're here to express the radiant, magnificent presence of the divine. And when our systems aren't all fully functioning, Spirit doesn't have the vehicle to share itself through, does it? So I'm going to invite Reverend Karen up here. She's going to close us out with an opportunity for prayer that we may anchor this in to the very core of our being.
So I invite us to take a collective breath together. And as you ease out of that breath, I invite you to go within. Go within to that infinite place, that spot where we all connect, where we connect with ourselves, with one another, and with all of life, right there, in that spot. And it is in this spot that there is a recognition of God, of spirit, of life itself, of love itself, of that which so radically loves to express itself. That it does so in a way that it never, ever, ever depletes itself, never diminishes itself, never exhausts itself, never stresses itself out, for it gives so fully and freely, and yet it expresses so infinitely as the mountains, to the oceans, to the galaxies, to the butterfly, to you. This is who we are. This thing itself, this life that loves itself so fully that it blooms without stress, that it births without constraint, that it receives all that life gives to itself. It cares in ways that are unimaginable and unquestionable. And this is the moment that we know that this is our life. And so by the power and authority of that which is the one mind, the Christ consciousness, this word is spoken for each of us to fully ground within our own self that God loves us so much that it gave itself as us. That God loves us so much that we get that we love ourselves this much. And so we take time to breathe in our life, to be in our life, to savor the sunrises, the coffee, the laughter, the hugs, the glances, those precious, priceless moments that can only happen now. We allow ourselves to radically care so much for this vessel, for this soul, for this heart, that life itself expressed as each of us, that we no longer let that which is outside of us run us, guide us, or inflict itself on us that does harm. So in this moment, there is a radical calling for love, for compassion, for understanding, for forgiveness, for wholeness, for health, and for life, as each one of us embraces how spectacular, how magnificent, how unduplicatable and replicatable we each are. And if that's not worthy for radical self-care, nothing in this universe is. And so this is our time and our day to love me, you, us, fully, wholeheartedly, and completely. And so it is.